Hi, and welcome to Class 4 of Science Fiction Filmmaking 101. In this class, we're going to talk about production structure. Yeah, it's not the most exciting class of the series, but it may well be one of the most important ones. To ensure your project is run smoothly, stress-free, and therefore you can focus on being creative. So believe me when I say it's worth taking the time earlier on in the project to instill some organisation and structure in the filmmaking process. Making science fiction films requires the fastest and biggest hard drives you can afford, specifically to work with the large amounts of 2K and 4K footage, as well as the visual effects plates, the data, the various elements you're going to shoot, and all the data you capture on set. And that's before we go into the post-production, where the visual effects shots will have tons of CGI elements, render passes, mocap, animation data, composites, and all the various versions of each shot. So all of this is going to be stored and accessed from within your main drive, which is your repository server, or as I like to call it, the project hub. Everything is on there. If it isn't on there, then it won't be or shouldn't be anywhere else. Your rushes of your footage comes in first, and that's your main big data ingest. The VFX then feeds into it along with sound design and music and other elements. You will notice that the edit has incoming and outgoing from the main server. That's because when making science fiction movies, there are a lot of elements, as we've seen already, that goes back and forth into the edit. And it's why editorial starts during the shoot, right through to post, and then to deliverables of the final movie. You should also have at least 2 drives that you synchronize to for incremental backups of your main drive. During production, especially in post, the editorial folder is essentially the live area on your server. So for the Beyond, I kept it simple by breaking down the project into 3 reels to reflect the 3-act structure in a film. This structure is also reflected in the bin folders within my editing environment, where my footage is imported into before I start working on the edit. My editorial files on the server would have incremental saves with a version up number to ensure each day or each big change has its own version. This comes in particularly useful when a file has been corrupted or you lose a file or you delete a file. You can always go back to a version number which doesn't have too much of a gap between changes, as opposed to like waiting every week to do a version up, which means that if you lose a particular file in version back, there's a lot of work you have to redo. Labeling your files and folders on your drive is crucial for an efficient production. So for the Beyond, we had visual effects artists and team members from around the world working on this film with me. So I assigned sequences to each artist and dedicated a folder for each one. I also avoided any code-based naming conventions, which is quite popular in big facilities. Instead, I went more for a scene descriptions and shot numbers for the purpose of clarity. As you can see, my main drive is also synchronized with online storage via Dropbox. This allows me to share download links of the latest and updated assets on the server to people like the visual effects team or the editorial team or any other members of the team who need it, without the need of me sending out drives via courier or sending heavy email attachments. Let's now take a closer look at the production hub for the Beyond. It's best to look at the production hub as a live element of your production. Data is constantly being inputted and updated, especially production paperwork such as budgets, call sheets, references, scripts, etc., which is crucial to have the latest version of throughout the production. So it's best to always point to the version on your drive, as opposed to referring to email attachments, which may not be the latest version of the document, especially as filmmaking is a fast spinning wheel with decisions constantly being made and things changing constantly. With the huge amounts of important data generated in your film production, plus the finance involved, it makes every asset in your production valuable. So you really should have strict backing up practices in place. On both of my movies, I used file synchronizing software called Free File Sync, which would back up the updates made on any files and assets to the various backup drives that I would connect to at the end of each day.